Additional revenue is needed to face these current and future challenges, including, but one of the more important ones is to prevent additional reduction in police staffing brought about by layoffs. And I say additional because we did already lose a police officer and we've been unable to replace him. And one of our stumbling blocks is, from an operational standpoint, we have 5 full-time officers who are all entitled to vacation time, sick time, and those, that has to be covered. And we work very hard to cover it with our part-time staff, but from a logistical standpoint, it's becoming very, very hard. Additionally, additional revenue would be used to continue current community service programs, like to implement the proposed community service programs. Like, I'm an advocate for the DARE program. We have a brand new state-of-the-art elementary school here in the village now. The school resource officer that's in the building currently is a Claremont County Sheriff, and I think he's not there very much, but it's currently Claremont County Sheriff. I think it's perfectly reasonable that that school is in the village of Amelia, that the school resource officer in that building be an Amelia police officer. Additionally, I'm an advocate for the DARE program. We'd like to have an officer that has been certified in the DARE program and can teach that class at Amelia Elementary. We'd like to focus on the expansion of Neighborhood Watch and associated crime prevention programs. For right now, our Neighborhood Watch programs are to some effect on hold because they require time, and they require the time and resources that we currently don't have, because time is money and money is short. We'd like to use additional revenue in the future to work on expansion of matters related to traffic with regard to pedestrian and bicycle safety. Additionally, we'd like to purchase at least 1 patrol car immediately. Again, going back to what Mr. Gilpin indicated, the insurance company asked us to take a cruiser off the road because it had 100,000 miles on it, and before we had the opportunity to take it off the road, it suffered a breakdown that was too comprehensive and expensive to spend the money on to justify its existence. We'd like to furnish to police officers their firearms, eliminating, to the degree that it can be eliminated, the liability associated with officers carrying their own weapons. We'd like to purchase those new bulletproof vests. Again, not something that we just want to have, something we're mandated to have. We'd like to purchase additional tasers and replace police radios as it's necessary to replace them. On the proposed new 10 mil levy, on August 2nd, 2010, May Village Council approved placing a new police levy on the ballot for the voters to consider at the upcoming November 2nd, 2010 election. If the newly proposed 10 mil levy passes, the police levies that currently exist will be replaced, and the newly adopted levy will replace the existing levies. Let me repeat that. If the newly proposed 10 mil levy passes, the police levies that currently exist will be replaced by the newly adopted levy. Further, if the newly proposed 10 mil levy fails, that will mean that the levies that currently exist will remain in place and no additional revenue will be generated for the Amelia Police Department. Again, if the newly proposed 10 mil levy fails, that will mean that the levies that currently exist will remain in place and that no additional revenue will be generated for the Amelia Police Department. And the final and most important line on this slide is that unless additional funding sources are discovered, failure of the newly proposed levy will result in layoffs. I'd like to go over now the anticipated revenue generated by the new 10 mil levy. Currently, the 7 mil levy generates $367,000 or $367,250. The current 3 mil levy generates $220,243 for a combined total of $587,493. Let me redo that. The combined levies currently generate $587,493. The newly proposed 10 mil levy would generate $734,144 for a total increase of $146,651. Now let's break that down. For the newly proposed 10 mil levy, the cost per month for a $100,000 home would be $5.39 per month for a $100,000 home. For a $150,000 home, $8.09. And for a $200,000 home within the village, an increase of $10.78 a month. On an annual basis, if you own a $100,000 home, the 10 mil levy will cost per year will be $64.67 for a $100,000 home, $97.01 for a $150,000 home, and $129.34 for a $200,000 home. Now, this chart reflects the increased cost of the proposed 10 mil levy above what residents are currently paying for the police levies. So this is what the increases will be. And in the worst case scenario, we're looking at $11 a month. This is something that is probably best viewed on the website so that you can read all the numbers. But what we did is we just took a random sampling of streets in the village, showing an average increase in taxes on specific properties. It was just randomly selected homes and addresses. And based on this random sampling, the average increase was $78.93 for each household. And that's on an annual basis. Is that clear? So again, based on this random sampling, the average homeowner increase was $78.93 per home. This random sampling includes homes in Sedona Ridge, Amelia Park, Quail Creek, some of the homes here in Old Amelia. So we tried to get a cross-section of homes. Now, to find out exactly how you will be affected as a taxpayer, we've created this slide. So to find out the value of your home and what the increase in your taxes would be if the newly proposed 10 mil levy is passed, I would encourage residents to call the Claremont County Auditor's Office at 513-732-7150 and ask for the real estate office, and simply ask the following question. I live in Amelia Village. Tell them your address. I am being asked to consider a new 10 mil levy on November 2nd. Before I vote, can you tell me how my taxes will be affected? I'll ask that you bear in mind that if the newly proposed levy passes, the existing levies will be replaced by this new levy. So if you would like to find out how your household will be affected, again, the number is the Claremont County Auditor's Office, 732-7150. Ask for the real estate office. Give them your address. Ask them that tell them that you're being asked to consider a new 10 mil levy on November 2nd, and you'd like to know how they would like to know how their taxes will be affected. Let's talk about the projected impact further of the proposed 10 mil levy. Now, the real reality is that when the 7 mil levy was passed in 1999, the auditor's office certified the amount of money that the levy would raise at that time based upon the property values at that time. Let me say that again. The reality is that when the 7 mil levy was passed in 99, the auditor's office certified the amount of money that the levy would raise at that time based upon the property values at that time. Obviously, the 3 mil levy that was passed in May 2010 is based upon today's property values. However, as voters rejected replacing the 7 mil levy at that time, the amount of funding generated by the 3 mil levy is insufficient to make any real changes in the police department. Further, Ohio law dictates that the levy revenue remain at the level the voters approved on the date it was approved. Amelia has grown dramatically since 1999, but the revenue that the levy has produced has remained virtually constant until 2010 when the voters approved that 3 mil levy. We appreciate it. The impact is minor. In effect, the cost of the levy per homeowner has dropped over the years due to the fact that there has been so much new construction in Amelia. And finally, the real bottom line is that essentially Amelia residents are being asked to consider a recommitment to putting the tax rate on their property back to what they committed to in 1999. And again, the newly proposed levy would generate the same 10 mills. The difference is that the 10 mills would be calculated using 2010 property evaluations. And to reiterate again, if the 10 mil levy passes, the existing 7 mil and 3 mil levies will be replaced by the new 10 mil. Finally, I'd like to show, this is available in the presentation. It's the actual ballot language, so you can see exactly what you'll be looking at when you go into the voting booth. I'm not going to take the time to read it to you. It's a bunch of legalese. Basically, it gives you an opportunity to vote either for or against the levy, so it's very clear. It shouldn't be confusing from this standpoint. That concludes my prepared presentation for this evening. So at this time, I would open the floor to any resident or anyone here in the building who'd like to ask any questions regarding the proposed 10 mil, the newly proposed 10 mil police levy.